Wow.
Bro, Shakespeare's tough.
You know, but there is a great Shakespearean image of you searching the street hopelessly.
Yo, word. Or is that
for memories?
It's like sad New York
yeah, that's
street.
more Kafka, right? Because it's just like the absurdity
It's
of the system.
absurdity and like the bleak reality of
that
like,
there's no escape.
At a certain point, I was just like, yo, like there's nothing I can do. I either own it or I continue. It's like I keep adding in coins in the slot. It's like, bro, are you really gonna get it? Like, there's only one chance. It's crazy. Loss is crazy. So I'm like, okay, I went through that day as if I lost something in someone and was kind of like, you know, it's the same systems.
It is.
Like I've gotten better at it through the years. Like that was something I don't think I dealt with well as a kid.
Oh, and you got
like some tragedies would happen to me as a kid, like perceived tragedies or like, you know, trauma, of course. But like perceived tragedies, like this kid one time stole my Game Boy in IKEA in New Jersey. I was like 3 years old.
Oh, wow.
I was playing Game Boy and this kid deadass just took the Game Boy out of my hand. And I was like, you know,
cold.
I was cooked. Like I was like, yo, it's over. Everything it's over.
Right.
When you're 3 years old and you like play Game Boy, it's like
it's the end.
the year 2000. It's like, bro, you don't have anything else outside of that.
Snatched it out of your hands.
Yeah. I mean, he was like an older kid. He was probably like, I don't know,
do it.
maybe 7, 8, 9.
Wow. And the injustice.
I mean, that's like old school stuff though. Like that used to happen. There's no things like that anymore. So like that's like, I mean, tragedy. People don't experience that. It's very comfortable. You know, there's like constant tragedy, so to speak, which is like relative poverty and stuff. But like,
is that what you mean? Like visceral tragedy? Like,
I mean, I think like perceived, because for certain people, like, you know, a Game Boy is like, come on, bro. That's like ironic.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me.
Yeah. It's still fresh.
Like, yeah. I mean, you can see it. My eyes are glazing over.
You know why though? Because like kids have a great sense of justice. So if you ever see like little kids, like 3-year-old Red, the amount of justice he must have felt.
Right. Because it wasn't just that like, oh, I lost the thing. I kind of made it seem that way. But it's also more like it was a tragedy because it was so sudden. And, you know, it was like...
Like he just took
right, exactly. I had just developed my moralities and they were broken in an IKEA.
And there's no good explanation for that. You know what I mean? Like he did it because he could.
Exactly.
And that's messed up. Did you ever get a back?
Me over you. 0-1.
And then you never saw it again?
No.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember this other time I lost. Well, I didn't lose. More tragedy. Did I tell anyone about this? I mean, maybe a therapist. No, I'm playing.
No, but like in the moment. Like,
oh, yeah, my parents knew, of course. Wow. And it was like, you know, I mean, they were right there. They just kind of like, you know, you leave your kids sometimes in the IKEA for a little bit. It's like, but this is what happens, you know, watch your kids.
But were they sympathetic in the moment? Can you remember?
I'm very analytical. So like my parents are like, I could explain them very richly.
Yeah, no, but you just remember that moment of like that, or did they just be like, well, you know?
They are always gonna compensate and kind of like mediate, rather than necessarily let me feel the burn.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I was asking. Really.
But sympathize with is something that is like,
right.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's like a different muscle.
Yeah.
And so that one is a little more rare.
Yeah.
It's like linked with compassion and stuff.
Yes. Okay.
And empathy rather than sort of like practicality and situation.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just a mode of being trained to love and like help and share.
Or like to teach the lesson.
And to teach.
Sometimes
to teach above all.
That's not what the little kid needs all the time, right? They don't need the lesson. They just need the recognition of loss.
You can give them a lesson every time, but you always got to give them the sort of...
Yeah. They need, I think we need
You know best. The only pain is to you. If you're a parent to your child, the only pain and setback is yours.
Interesting. Okay. I think I want to know more about that. Like, go further.
I think the instinct is to come out with like an extreme example of what I just said. Like say a child is severely disabled. These things are only as difficult for the child as they are for the parent.
Okay.
For what the parent provides them in, you know, their environment, their abilities. You know, there are certain setbacks that people have, but everyone has setbacks and they're kind of relative. And for a child, they don't know what is, supposed to be. There is no supposed to be. It's just relative. So as a parent, if it's not a problem to you, so to speak, then it isn't a problem.
Yeah, but I think that's what can be damaging. Not damaging for kids, right? Because in that moment, sometimes they don't need the parents' reaction. They just need the recognition that something happened to them.
Acknowledgement.
Wow. Okay.
People like to feel heard. Their emotions like to be heard.
Yes.
And that's super valid, and it's very useful.
Very valid. It's very prescient to where we are today.
What word is this? Yo, we're going to have to, recurring put up your vocab. Because I like words, but, prescient is crazy.
I just had, a crazy middle school teacher who was, really hardcore.
She made you, write down all the...
Yeah.
Those are good teachers, though.
I know.
The SAT vocab.
Miss Stanley, wherever you are. What's up, Jersey? Yeah. Prescient just means of the time. It's happening right now.
Timely.
It's timely. So when you're
prescient.
Yeah, prescient.
It's almost
word, right?
precious.
Yeah, prescient. It's a beautiful word.
Or sentient.
Yeah. Because I'm sure they're connected.
The suffix, I'm playing.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Probably.
There's probably something there.
People go to school for 4 years for English, so it kind of makes sense. Or more than that. A lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember having to do. These are so funny. As you get older, my fallback words. I read your newsletter, by the way. I love how you define cumbersome, because I love that word. But I like that you...
Another prescient vocab word is cumbersome.
That word's so good.
Society is cumbersome.
Yeah, but I like that you defined it, because it was most people probably don't know that word. But I don't know, in middle school, I remember having to you had to, this is so crazy. You had to learn the definition, be able to write in a sentence, and be able to come up with 3 synonyms. It was just a weekly thing. I feel the hardest class I ever took in my life was 6th grade language and grammar. It was so intense. But because of that, I'm older and I still remember that word prescient. So I guess...
Yeah, they don't leave you. Because then you start to use them. They start to explain more nuanced emotions and situations in your life that you've experienced before.
Yeah, and I am concerned about our literacy as a collective. I feel that's definitely declining.
I think concerned would be a bit of an underwhelming reaction.
I am, but yeah.
For literacy, I mean, that's
flat.
Gone. Yeah. But in terms of
people use the same 12
competence.
Yeah.
That's a lower bar, and that's gone, yo.
Well, I'm worried because it's I think it's neutering the ability to speak on things deeply, because people just use the same 12 to 15 words for everything. Have you noticed that?
Words such as
just yeah, awesome. That I don't know, just really flat. Text speak. Yeah.
You could say tech or text, because people text that way.
And they also are only speaking in cultural meme language, which is a way, I think, socially to ping off each other, right? But if everyone's just oh, cutesy demur,
you just plug in.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by the loop of it, where you don't get dynamic language.
People don't interact.
I know my father just texted Kennedy's speech to me for some reason. Well, we know the reason, but I was reading the speech. I was oh damn, this is a really well written speech. You're never gonna hear this today in any form. And so this is a total sidebar.
The more exposure you have to media, public facing media especially, you kind of dilute everything language related.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because I think 30 years ago, if you're listening to public radio, you're well, there were more words. It just feels there were different, a variety of words.
It's colorful.
Colorful language.
AM radio is now, was then the way that you got entertaining interactions of humans that were real, but still entertainment.
Right.
So it's not what podcasts are. What we're doing is not really AM radio. It's educational, informative, entertaining. Yeah. It can even be fun. Podcasts can be damn, that was a fun podcast, a fun conversation. But AM radio is theater of the mind.
Theater of the mind. That's interesting. Yeah.
But that sort of conversation and like interactions, those existed. Like now they are almost fictional in real life. You know, like the dynamics of and the speed and pace of like conversation and like interactions.
Yeah.
They did happen like, you know, like movies or TV shows where it's like, damn, there's like action in every sequence here.
Right.
That's how things were. It just seems so far out because it's nowhere near that now. And you see it in like culture and TV from the past, and you may even remember it. Right? Like, you know, people can remember this.
I know we're like the last.
The very last, because a lot of people kind of checked out by now.
Yeah, the bridging generation, maybe. Yeah, I do remember that. I feel like I remember that. Yeah, this is an interesting theme of loss. It's one. I forgive you. Like, I don't want you to feel bad in any way. I also know that feeling of utter despair come crashing down.
Yeah.